Irish Guy, and happy St. Patrick's Day. And to celebrate it, Crystal Palace have just made one Paddy unemployed. Way to pick your timing, Steve. That's like 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and choosing to go outside and punch a Santa Claus in the groin. But no, contrary to public belief, I'm not currently spluttering whiskey on my nose. I don't have an invisible leprechaun sitting on my knee. So let's just get on with this. Pretty simple, lads. The Champions League quarterfinal draw has been made, and it's weird. This is supposed to be a collection of the 8 best clubs in Europe, right? Yeah, only half of them are top of their domestic leagues. We've been told for years that Serie A is a dying division full of elderly mush. The nursing home of Europe. Yeah, there's more teams in the Serie A quarterfinals than there are any other league on the planet. This is like going back to 2006. There's only one representation from Spain and from England. I mean, sure, there's Man City, but there's also a G-Pot mess sitting 10th in the league. This draw is history. This is a proper old school Champions League quarterfinal draw. I mean, instead of seeing European babies like PSG and RB Leipzig in here, no, it's mostly a collection of clubs with history. I mean, Man City and Napoli aside, the other 6 clubs have won a combined 34 Champions Leagues, or European Cups. That is football heritage. So this quarterfinal draw is like looking in a stuffy old museum. Honestly, AC Milan are like that old painting of Mona Lisa, which is now covered in dust, cobwebs, and old lady sick. But right, here's my quarterfinal predictions. Right, let's go. Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Graham Potter is going to be managing in a Champions League quarterfinal against Carlo Ancelotti. If I was Potter's mum, then right now I'd be vomiting into my own shoe. This is terrifying for Potter's family members. I mean, it's like hearing that your brother is about to now go and box a grizzly bear. Yeah, you're probably gonna have your neck ripped open like a packet of skips. I hope Everton fans tune into this match, because this is a club who back in 2021 wanted to replace Ancelotti with Potter. I think we're going to see in this game that was a bit like Ben Affleck being dumped by Jennifer Lopez, and so he then decides to swipe right on the chubby one of Bridesmaids. Chelsea fans, you must be utterly terrified. Coming face to face with Real Madrid, honestly, no. It's such a daunting task. It's a bit like being told at gunpoint to eat an entire telephone pole with a knife and fork. I'm sorry, what? To be fair, I know last season Chelsea versus Real Madrid somehow went extra time after Real Madrid briefly imploded like a cup of horse piss in the microwave, but I'm sorry, no. The reality is that Real Madrid have been given an easy tie against a multi-million-pound mess who are currently rotting behind Brentford, Brighton and Fulham in the Premier League. Ancelotti was regularly able to flatten Potter. Was he an ugly, unfashionable tools at Everton? So, giving him the greatest club in world football, I'm sorry, but GP is going to feel so out of his depth at the Bernabeu. This will be the greatest example of imposter syndrome ever seen at this stage of a Champions League. This is the equivalent of some grubby goblin like me hosting the Oscars. I'd be so terrified. I'd honestly walk out in a suit coated with banana-flavored sick. But I'm sorry, the day Graham Potter leaves the Bernabeu with the result is the day the sky turns pink and aliens are caught molesting sheep. No chance. People are saying Madrid are having a rotten crisis season, right? Yeah, please give your head a shake. They've won 29 games. Chelsea have won 15. And honestly, scuttling through in the previous round against Borussia Dortmund. At times, it was almost painful to watch. In the Champions League, Potter has come up against European heavyweights like Stefano Pioli, Matthias Jassel, Ante Kacic, and Erden Turcic. Yeah, I mean, Pioli aside, the rest of that group just sounds like a bunch of drunks you might meet in some Bulgarian hostel. But coming up against a man who's competed in 5 Champions League finals. I mean, lads, Ancelotti was lifting this trophy for the second time as AC Milan boss. Back when Potter was a student in Leeds, I mean, he probably watched that game whilst eating pot noodles in his pants. No chance are Chelsea winning this tie. I'm gonna go for a monster 3-0 Real win in Spain, where Eden Hazard will once again be refused to come onto the pitch. He'll just be stuck on that bench, looking like a grumpy Teletubby, whilst fantasizing about how many cheeseburgers he can eat on the loo. This is gonna be a tactical annihilation. We'll see a superb masterclass from Karim Benzema, and then yeah, Real will carve out a pretty dull 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge, so 4-0 in aggregate, and Potter will almost be reduced to tears. That's if Graham Potter is somehow coaching in a Champions League semi-final this season, then make no mistake about it, I will eat an entire bowl of porridge off the floor of a Tesco shop. Inter Milan versus Benfica. Everyone is eyeing up Benfica as if they're a tempting bowl of chicken nuggets in the corner of the gym. They're almost like forbidden fruit, because deep down you know that allowing yourself to get excited over a Portuguese team in the Champions League is so very 2004. Inside, you know full well that a selling club like Benfica are not actually going to be in a conversation to win the Champions League. Despite their 32 wins this season, lads, this is a team who sent Darwin Núñez overseas last summer. You would assume that they would now have the blunt goal-scoring capabilities of a bucket of dead mice. But they've scored 35 goals in the Champions League this season. 35! Don't think for 1 minute Inter Milan fans won't be a little scared. Roger Schmidt has built a scary good Benfica team. And I'm sorry, but once this team do go crashing out of the Champions League, I mean, surely he's getting a Premier League job. If I instead see someone like West Ham, instead just chuck money at Will Still, someone who 3 years ago probably had to steal food from the homeless, then I think my brain will actually explode. Inter Milan, by comparison, don't convince me in Europe. No, I think Benfica are blowing Inter out the window, thumping them 3-1 at home before we get 2-0 win in Italy. This won't even be close. A 5-1 aggregate win for Benfica. That's just how it is. Lads, Benfica are going to be in a Champions League semi-final. I know. Mental. Man City versus Bayern Munich. This is the glamour tie. Manchester City versus Bayern Munich. Pep Guardiola trying to knock out his former club. I realise these teams haven't actually faced each other in nearly 10 years, but I think for a while there, we sort of had this fixture force-fed down our necks. And then I'd be made to eat nothing but ice cream and your dad's fingernails 7 times a week. These two played each other twice in 2011. Remember when Carlos Tevez refused to come off the bench? Then they met another 2 times in 2013, and then another 2 times in 2014. That is 6 meetings in 3 years. Back then, this fixture was more overplayed than a Taylor Swift song, but in the Champions League this season, Bayern are flawless. 8 wins from 8 and just 2 goals conceded. So they've kept 7 clean sheets in 8 games, and City, on the other hand, have not been flawless. They've only won 1 game away from home in Europe. They travelled to Copenhagen, Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig and managed 1 goal. This is their 3rd trip to Germany. I'm confident, so incredibly confident. Bayern Munich will keep a clean sheet against Man City at home. I'm so utterly assured of that if City score a single goal in the second leg, then I will do an entire video dressed like Susan Boyle. This is a fascinating tie, but lads, I reckon it'll be tight and scrappy. I'll go for a 1-0 home win for Man City, with Erling Haaland backing in a late goal. But honestly, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Bayern win at home, with Sadio Mane haunting Pep yet again. Lads, Guardiola is going out of the Champions League quarter-final. I'm convinced. AC Milan versus Napoli. Napoli are freaks. The fact they clawed nearly 70 points in Serie A by mid-March, they've already banked in 87 goals in all competitions. It's almost as if this Napoli squad has just been drinking horse steroids in their Cocoa Pops. I cannot explain their season. I mean, just over a year ago, this is a stumbling, bumbling team who went on a run of winning just 2 games in 9. Last season, they were finishing 2nd in the Europa League group to Spartak Moscow. Who saw this coming? Luciano Spalletti has built a team of absolute utter monsters. I mean, lads, it's weird. Napoli and AC Milan are going to be playing against each other 3 times in April. They're going to be so sick of each other. AC Milan, by comparison, are currently a wet weasel of a football team, which is sad. This is the great AC Milan, so to see them now, it's been like seeing Jack Nicholson sitting in a wheelchair, being fed cereal by a nurse as he struggles to remember the name of his mum. The fact that Tottenham couldn't score a single goal past Milan is embarrassing. I mean, lads, a pudding Chelsea team stuck 5 past Milan. Milan recently went on a 5-game winless run where they lost the derby and conceded 13 goals in their 4 other games. This is AC Milan. So losing to the likes of Sassuolo 5-2 at home, Pioli was lucky enough to be sacked on the spot. They should be utterly no match for Napoli. This should be like Batman being asked to beat up Bill Cosby when he's about 84 and probably has to poo into a shoe. But Napoli are usually European bottlers. I mean, this is their first ever Champions League quarter-final, which is weird considering they had Champions League specialists like Rafa Benitez and Carlo Ancelotti at the wheel. And I'm sorry, lads, I think we're about to watch Napoli choke again. Don't forget, last season they were a dark horse too, and favourites to knock a crisis Barcelona out of the Europa League. They lost 4-2 at home and showed the backbone of a paraplegic snail. I remember the days when the great Napoli were struggling to beat Swansea in Europe. I mean, last season, they were making hard work of Leicester City. Since 2011, Napoli's European season has been ended by Villarreal, Liverpool, Victoria Pilsen, FC Porto, FC Dnipro, Villarreal, Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, Arsenal, Granada, and Barcelona. Some good teams in there, yes, but some absolute European packets of snot.
Oh, this Napoli team are built different. Pep Guardiola just called them the best team in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, Pep has had a Naples fetish 4 years. He said the same thing 6 years ago. Back in 2017, City left Napoli with an easy 4-2 win, and he still patronisingly called them the best team he'd ever faced. Lads, they were coached by Maurizio Sarri and lost 4 of their 6 group games. Although, to be fair, that season, did anybody realise, under Sarri, they finished 2nd in Serie A on 91 points. That's more than the Arsenal Invincibles, and they still did nothing in Europe. That great Napoli team quickly disintegrated into mulch, and now their star man just rots on Arsenal's bench. They are a better team than Milan, yes. Well, I'm convinced of it. Football heritage. Milan are desperate to return to Istanbul, while Napoli, even that 91-point team under Sarri, they just choked in Europe like an old woman trying to swallow Chinese food. Napoli should beat Milan, but they won't. It'll be a scrappy, frustrating 0-0 draw in Milan, where Victor Osimhen will just look like a sleep-deprived Nile Ranger in front of goal. Napoli will score an early goal at home in the second leg, but then they won't know what to do. Will they sit back and defend, protect their lead, or push for another goal? Their heads will be like scrambled egg. Their game management will be on the floor. It'll be like a dog trying to do a jigsaw puzzle. They just won't know what to do. And then I just think Milan will roar forward in the second half. Divock Origi will come off the bench to score an undeserved equaliser, and it'll go to extra time, then penalties, and Milan will somehow win. Napoli are everyone's dark horses, everyone's sea biscuit. But when do any team tipped as major dark horses ever go on to reach the final? Lads, Ajax were in Napoli's shoes under Erik ten Hag, the people's champion, who absolutely tore Real Madrid to shreds. Yeah, they then went and bottled the 3-0 lead against Spurs. Pressure can scramble these brains of dark horses. Napoli are not reaching the final. No, just stop.
Oh, but Napoli will be hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry. I've been eating nothing but flowers all day. And if you want to talk about real hunger, lads, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is nearly 42 and still hasn't won the Champions League. I mean, does nobody remember where this final is held? Istanbul. This city is the setting of the greatest ever shame. 3-0 up in the 2005 final against Liverpool, and they still failed to win the cup. Napoli are everyone's underdog dark horses. But I just think concentrating on winning Serie A and closing out that title race, that is enough pressure. But trying to reach their first Champions League semi-final too, it's just too much on Spalletti's plate. It's like me trying to eat a 3-course meal fit for the whale. Napoli are a better team than Milan, but the best team doesn't always go through. This won't go well for them. AC Milan are going through, and Divock Origi is going to be the face of this tie. He's going to do something big. So that's it. It'll be a Champions League semi-final between Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, and then Benfica versus AC Milan. We are going to see a major underdog in the Champions League final this season. Lads, we're going to see either Benfica or AC Milan in the Champions League final. This season is special. Anyway, let me know what do you think. Let me know in the comments what do you think is going to be your semi-final lineup. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.